Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I'm talking about watches. Well, I'm very happy to say that I've got another Hamilton in for a first impressions video. And this is actually one of the Hamiltons that I was initially targeting. This is something that when I've looked at the range of Hamiltons, that I thought, that's the one I like. That's the aesthetics that I like, and I think that is the one I want to own. However, I came across a really big problem. Well, it's a big problem to me. I'm sure you're not going to think it's a big problem. The problem is that this watch comes in two separate sizes, which is fantastic. Most watches don't have an option of sizes, but this one does. It comes in a 38mm and a 42mm. The problem I had with it is I thought both of those sizes seemed wrong for this particular watch. I thought this is exactly the kind of watch that I want at 40mm. I thought that would be the perfect size for this watch. Now, I know there are other Hamilton field watches in their lineup that are 40mm, but I just particularly like the dial on this one. Obviously, I did buy one. I bought the 38mm. But I have to say, the only reason I went for the 38mm over the 42 is because it came up at a good price. If this watch had come up in the 42mm at the same price, then I would have gone that one as well. I think either size is going to be okay. I really like it. I like watches at 38mm. I like watches at 42mm. So before we jump into the first impressions, if you haven't subscribed, do you mind clicking on that subscribe button? But let's flip the camera around now and let me see if I bought the right size watch. Let me check out how good this watch is, because I have got high expectations of this Hamilton. And let's see how good it is and what I sort of think about it in a first impressions sort of way. Let's flip the camera and let's check it out. So here we have my Hamilton in and the original box this time. My last Hamilton didn't come with a box and I had to buy a box. This one is the timber box. First thing though, I have noticed is even though it does look like timber, it's not timber. And that is actually a bit of a shame. I always thought these were proper timber boxes. But this one is the Hamilton Khaki Field H70455133. It does present very, very nicely inside this box. There is paperwork in here underneath as well, but yeah, absolutely. Bit of an unfortunate that that's not timber, because that would feel absolutely amazing. But I think all in all, this is a beautiful looking Hamilton. I really, really like it. I like the Hamilton field watches. I think they're great, but I think I like something with a little bit more to it, just a little bit of extra play, and this dial gives it that extra play. It has that sort of inner circle there, has a mixture in finishes on the dial, which I particularly like. Everything sort of is printed on there. The hands are those needle hands. There's a nice flash of red on the second hand. Obviously, the date window there at the 3 o'clock. It's just a hand winding there. It does have an automatic movement, sorry, but there's no screw down crown. It's a sign crown, has the Hamilton H. Lots of brushing going on here, which I think suits the field watch aesthetic. Nice brushing on the side, brushing on the top. Nice crystal there as well. That sort of looks nice, doesn't it? Look, check that out. Oh yeah, nice dome crystal. Lots of brushing going on the bracelet here, and something which I wasn't expecting, wasn't really aware about. Check out the bracelet. There's actually 4 links there. Those inner links, which are sort of divided into 2, are actually separate links. I didn't know it did that. Maybe you haven't been paying attention with these reviews. Nice clasp on it. I think it's a fairly standard Hamilton, all brush, double pusher, milled interior, 4 sets of micro adjust. But I am going to bring up something straight now, because this is the 38mm. This is the slightly smaller variation. There is a 42mm. I get the impression that that is going to be the same clasp on the 42mm. And I think it's a nice clasp. It's not too wide, not too thick. And I think it would suit the 42 very well. But on the 38, it feels like it's too big. It doesn't look terrible. I've had another watch where the clasp was way too big, and it doesn't feel like that. But it feels too big. I think they maybe, since it's a smaller, thinner, 38mm watch, maybe one of the smaller clasps or a half clasp would have suited this watch a bit better. Let's see how that goes in my mind as I wear this sort of longer term. This has the push pins in there. They were slightly interesting pins, those ones. Had a bit of a difference to them. I'll talk about that in the full review as well. There is a see-through caseback showing off that movement, which is nice to see. There's that custom rotor with Hamilton written on there. It's a good looking watch. I'm not really quite convinced about the 38mm yet, although I'm not also completely convinced about the 42mm yet. But let's check it out and wrist it and see how it looks. Well, the clasp certainly fits me. The bracelet certainly fits me. and the watch certainly fits me. I think a 38mm watch looks actually really good on my wrist. It's funny, I think it actually looks better on my wrist than I think it does. Let me try and explain that. I look at that and I think, yep, that looks absolutely perfect. But there is something in my mind that says, oh, I wish it was a little bit bigger. But I think that just might be me. So what do you think? Do you think that suits my wrist? I think the answer is yes. So I'm certainly happy with the 38mm. As you can see, it sort of curves down on my wrist a fair bit. It sits really nicely, feels really nice on wrist as well. These Hamilton watches, there's something a bit special about them. They really sort of have a sort of quality to them, a look to them, a movement to them that sort of brings it all together within a sort of a generally a semi-affordable price as well. I think there's a very good reason why these are so popular in the watch enthusiast world. Wonderful. All right, guys, as usual, I will have this on wrist for 4 to 6 weeks before I do the review, and I'll give you some of the ins and outs of this watch and see whether it was the right choice getting the smaller variation. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I do hope to see you in the next video.